Good evening to all the participants. And then welcome today the speaker, Mrs. Kavita Mokanraj. The topic is 3D printing. Now Dr. Balamurugan will introduce our speaker, today's speaker, Mrs. Kavita Mohanraj.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening to one and all, so who are watching online and offline through our website as well as YouTube channel. So this is going to be the lecture series in the lockdown period 06. Actually, we have our eminent engineer, Kavita Mogan from one moment. So I'll just. Kavita Mohan, she is an entrepreneur as well as she is the CEO of the company Into Design, and she has done her one moment. So she has done her education from La Chalatine Residential Junior College. Starting from that, she has completed ME Advanced Architectural Design in Stockage Hochschule für Brillanti, Frankfurt, and she has done her internship in Inform Architects and as an architect as Maya Perasis, and right now she is heading her own company Into Design, offer various levels of customized Rhinoceros 3D training to design firms and individual design professionals internationally. Our vision is to develop intuitive modeling skills in a logical way, which helps in the development of computational modeling for conceptual and detailed design. So that is their motto. And she is a co-founder of Into Design also. So she is a brand ambassador for women in 3D printing from February 2022 present, 3 months plus. She is a design entrepreneur with a demonstrated history of working in the design industry, skilled in computational design, certified trainer for Rhino 3D and Grasshopper 3D printing for manufacturing, computational designer and design development professional with an MArch focused in advanced architectural design from Stockholm Hochschule für Brillanti, Frankfurt. Thank you, ma'am. So you can proceed with the session, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction. So as sir said, today we're going to have a look at 3D printing and how it is going to make a big impact towards our industries and our daily life as well. So today, happy May Day as well. So I'll start the presentation right now. You all can hear me all right, right? Okay. So yeah, so I'm a computational designer and also a 3D printing specialist. The whole 3D printing came to me 8 years back when I was doing my master's in architecture in Germany. I was handling a lot of printers there. The Fab Lab, we call it as a fabrication lab there, and that's the first time I encountered a 3D printing. 3D printing those days were very huge, but now it's all become much smaller and much efficient to use as well. So it's come a long way already. I'm going to take you and narrate you throughout 3D printing and the varied opportunities that we have inside as well. I'm also a trainer with a particular 3D software, which is called Rhino 3D, a very efficient and curve modeling software, which is used among most industries that are almost every industry is using Rhino 3D now. And I'm also an ambassador for a group called Women in 3D Printing. It's an international community that aims at promoting 3D printing in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of all the communities around the world as well. When we started the company, we had this vision of design meets technology. And in most cases, what happens is it is a very dire need to adapt yourself towards technology. And one of which that we are going to talk about today is going to be 3D printing. And if you look at it, our expertise lies on design for advanced manufacturing, product design, product development, and training. And our usage of 3D printing is immense, and almost every single day we work with 3D printing people or 3D printers, or sometimes even with the designer who use 3D printing and so on. So that's one. To start with 3D printing, or to understand, what we need to understand is, yeah, okay, I'm getting a playback. Hello. Yeah, to start with 3D printing, you need to understand how industrial revolution took place throughout. So we started off with industrial revolution 1.0, which is mechanization with steam and water power, which started, which kind of tremendously changed from agriculture, farming to factory and mechanization. And when we look at Industry 2.0, it started off with the invention of electricity. Again, a lot of different revolution happened from there. A different need for work atmosphere, a different type of company started off. And with Industry 3.0, things just toppled back with automation industry as the main one. If you look at automation, it started sometime around 1970, gave development to CAD softwares. The softwares that you started using were all started off in 1970s. That is, there was in between human and machines, there came computers, right? So that was automation that was happening. And in Industry 4.0, that is what we're going to talk today. And 3D printing is probably, I will say, one of the many that are going to impact our industrial revolution as well. So this is from a source from Rex Publishing, which claims to be these are the main influences that are going to affect Industry 4.0. And we cannot talk in terms of autonomous robots separately or simulation separately or additive manufacturing separately. Everything works together as one entity. Say, for example, I'm going to give a small example of a car design that Rolls-Royce has been trying to implement in the industry. What they're trying to do is, if you look at the right side corner, there's something called Internet of Things. So when a car manufacturer gives the car out to a user, what he will do is he'll fix a lot of Internet of Things together. Say, for example, the engine, if it has a failure, it will send a message telling this particular user from this particular city, there is some problem in this engine. This particular communication will be delivered from the car to the company directly. So that is Internet of Things. Or say, for example, the car can also be additive manufactured. So I'm going to show you some examples where 75% of a car has been 3D printed as well. So if you look at it, everything from big data to autonomous robots to simulation, everything works in one hand in hand. So we've got to embrace all of it together and understand each entity as its own as well, and how each of them interact within each is also a very important thing with Industry 4.0. And on a nutshell, if I can explain what Industry 4.0 is, it is nothing but the computerization of industry of 3.0. If you think about it, what will eventually happen is there'll be a lot of upskilling that is required to get into Industry 4.0. That I will also elaborate what those are in some moment. So when it comes to 3D printing, it is actually a technical term is actually additive manufacturing. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about it or not. I'm going to give a little elaboration of what additive manufacturing is about. It's as simple as clay modeling. When we start off clay modeling, there is a particular technique called clay coiling. Coiling is nothing but you roll it into a thin strip and then you start placing it layer by layer by layer, right? So that is called coiling, and it's a very good technique for clay modeling. Now, 3D printing is a very similar process. It does layer by layer by layer. This is called additive manufacturing. Now, most of our traditional manufacturing is all subtractive manufacturing. You basically keep a particular material and you sculpt out of it. That is subtractive manufacturing. So firstly, when I'm talking about this, you already understand that there is much less wastage in additive manufacturing. Let's look at what this is. So this is what I've been talking. There is layer by layer. The red lines are the layers that are printing, and the one that you see above is the nozzle. So it is the process of joining materials through a model data, and then you eventually get the built product. It takes a little bit of time these days, but 7 years back when I started, a particular model, if it takes 24 hours, today it takes around 3 hours, right? So that is the kind of efficiency we are getting with technology. And there'll be no time, we'll probably get a model in say 15 minutes or 20 minutes as well. So this is again a concrete printer, an image of it. You can see that every single level is printed and then it gives you as one particular entity. So just to run through printing, I've been, for me, it has only been 7 years, but it's been running ever since from 1985. Probably the reason now you're seeing it's 1985, but then in 2000, probably in last 3 years, you would have seen it booming up quite a bit. You would see a printer running. But the whole idea why it didn't kind of boom in the industry was because it was patented by many companies, say Stratasys, and again, Charles Hull also patented it. So if you look at it in 1995, they patented the first technology, which was called SLA. And slowly in 1997, they started 3D systems started getting more new types of technologies. EOS is one of the leaders in this technology. There is also there are one of the first Asia. Hello? Yeah, one of the first 3D printing companies that was set up in Asia was also in Chennai. EOS set up probably 15 years back, right? So that is also there. And in 1989, the technology that you would have mostly seen, that is called a desktop printer, was patented in 1989. That is called an FDM technology. And 1990 was when CAD2 came up. And when it comes to slowly, what happens was you will notice that the health industry is one of the few that accesses technology in a much or embraces technology much higher. So you would see medical organs starting to, you know, they are starting to research quite a bit on prosthetics. So this is back in 2000, almost 20 years back. And in 2008, prosthetics started developing. This particular Urbi is one of the first prototyped car in 2010. So it took 5 years for them to 3D print 75% of an end user car. So I'll show that image as well in a few minutes. So what happens is in 2014, there is a big boom in the industry that was done because of the expiry of a particular patent that is particularly of FDM technology. And that is your desktop printer that you would have seen in your universities or around in most labs. So coming back, NASA does most interesting work in terms of not just NASA, even in our ISRO, there are quite a bit of 3D printers that are available. What they've been trying to do is in space, it is much better if you take a printer, start printing food, start printing houses. So they've been embracing this technology quite a bit. And in future, there is something that I would like to share. What most people think is just like Xerox machine. There was you would notice that some 10, 15 years back, Xerox machines were very, very famous. You used to go pay some money and then start taking copies. Similarly, what happens now is those Xerox machines are there in your house. There will be a similar transition. 3D printers now will be available in labs. Probably in future, it will be available in your house. I actually have one in my house right now itself. So 3D printers are quite accessible, quite user-friendly to use as well. And you have the power of manufacturing in your hand. That will be very close to you in the future as well. So 3D printing will revolutionize the way you think, the way you realize, the way you produce. Say, for example, you want to buy a dress. You might even download a particular model, 3D print at your home. So these are possibilities in future that will definitely take place. And coming to industries, I'm noticing that there are a lot of different types of engineers that are here. So I'm just going to broadly show you some of the industries. Automotive industry is something, most of my clients are from automotive industry. We've been working with them for design for manufacturing, for 3D printing. So we work with Hyundai, Ather, everybody are actually embracing quite a bit of 3D printing into their research team as well, and also for end user. This particular car that you see here, it is called LM3D Swim, which has 75% 3D printed parts in the body, particularly the chassis. And it's, if you look at the material, it's 20% carbon fiber and 80% ABS plastic. This is one of my favorite projects as well. And another thing is Ford Motor Company has also patented one particular idea of 3D printing brake disc. So this brake disc is not a prototype, it's an end user part. So that means they're going to start doing mass production of the brake disc. Right. So next one is medical industry. Medical industry and jewelry industry is probably the biggest industry in India. And to be frank, in the whole of the world, medical industry is doing quite a bit of cutting edge research here in India as well. So you would notice that true to life organ replicas are majorly done in University of Minnesota. Prototyping new surgical tools are also done. There are also a lot of, you would see a lot of dental community that are working with 3D printing. That I'm also a part of, where they're very, very happy and they embrace technologies. They try and 3D print orthodontic things, and they also feel that these are much, much low cost for them. So that's one industry which is making a big impact on. And jewelry industry, of course, one of our clients at Tanishq, what happened was when we went to the Hosur plant, generally what notion you will have is the goldsmith will be the first in the supply, right, in the chain of industry. But the goldsmith was sitting in the last and the 3D printer was the first. That means there was a person, a CAD modeler and a designer created a 3D model. The first piece was actually 3D printed, which is called a masterpiece. And only then the production happens. So you'll already notice that the 3D printer has found the first position to come in the production. And then the goldsmith was in the last. It's a little delicate situation because a lot of goldsmiths are losing job in this impact. But what they need to do is, I also know a lot of goldsmiths who've been upskilling themselves. They learn Rhino, they learn different 3D modeling softwares to encounter themselves to start understanding 3D printing as well. So that's another case. You lose jobs, you gain jobs. Another industry is aerospace industry. This is one of my other favorite example to give. What happened was FAA gave an approval for titanium parts printing for Dreamliner. And what that did was the one you see on the left, that bracket was 3D printed. That kind, what that did was it gave a cost reduction of $3 million per airplane. So that is quite a big for the airplane industry. So this also revolutionized the entire design of the Dreamliner as well. So this is one. Another one is oil and natural gas. Oil and natural gas is very interesting. Now, this is what we call as a decentralized manufacturing. What happens is there might be small drill parts that are necessary. And it's every time for them to go out and then, get the drill part, it's very little hectic for them to move out because it's a very decentralized zone. So what they do is they start 3D printing their part in the particular area. So the image that you see is somewhere in the sea. So you can decentralize your manufacturing procedure, print it, 3D print it, and then you can start using it. GE has been doing quite a bit of research on these lines, particularly for the oil and natural gas things. Another one is fashion industry. Fashion industry is also embraced it really well. You would find RAM shows just conducted with 3D printed objects. Another one example is, this is a movie shot from Black Panther Marvel series, where most of them are also encouraging 3D printed parts. The cap that you see on the lady on the right side is also completely 3D printed, along with the one that she's wearing on the neck. This is also an Oscar-winning design, fashion design that they gotten as well. Furniture industry. What happens with furniture? I majorly interact with furniture industry as well. Now, these are not at all prototypes. You can sit on them. You can use them in your daily use. Their lifetime is actually pretty good. You can get delicate, complex designs as well. So furniture industries also embraced it really well. Another one, this was in the news 2-3 years back. This is a steel bridge, a steel 3D printed bridge that was done in Amsterdam. It's very, one thing is Amsterdam, Netherlands, the entire country embraces 3D printing for one very important reason. They have a lot of small bridges on their canals and they hate to pollute the canal. So what they're trying to do is, or why they're using 3D printing is because when you start printing, I'll show you the first image actually. This is actually another bridge from Netherlands. So when you start printing, what happens is the robo sits right on the bridge and not under. So whenever you construct a bridge, what you need to do is you'll spoil the entire canal and pollute the canal. So you can avoid that by 3D printing one by one through a robo, through an automated robo, right? So that's another example in the civil industry. Sorry, I'm just going back to the presentation. Yeah, so that's the 3D printed bridge. Now, this one, I don't know how many of you have seen this, but this is still there in IIT Madras campus. It was done by a few of the alumni. The group is called Tavasta. So this is a 3D printed toilet. That's right there in the center of civil engineering department. You can also see the small texture that is there. It is nothing but concrete that is built layer by layer by layer. It is a beautiful machine. If you walk in, they have the 3D printer also in their near to the civil industry department. So you can also have a look at it. This is also the first 3D printed toilet all over the world, a fully functional toilet. And this is another office building in Dubai. What I would like to show you is the elegance that you can get in construction, and with complexity in design, the customization, the value of the construction cost doesn't increase. It's the same if you 3D print. So this is a classic example for complexity in design as well. Again, I would like to say that it will definitely change the way you think, you realize, and you produce. Now, if you look at the impact on manufacturing, one second. Yeah, if you look at the impact on manufacturing, there are two things. And I'm not going to say traditional manufacturing is bad, additive manufacturing is good. What we need to understand is where this is good and where this is good, and utilize the maximum potential of it. Now, if you look at the overall ecosystem, one second. Yeah, good. So if you look at the overall ecosystem, to understand traditional manufacturing, you need raw materials. The raw materials comes into a factory. You need a big factory to have multiple machinery for manufacturing, for assembly, and so on. You'll need a lot of labor for assembly, and distribution comes into placement as well. But an additive manufacturing, when you start embracing additive manufacturing into the system, what I would like to show you is the right-hand side one. That is this person. So this person can sit anywhere in the world, design a particular product, or it could also be a CAD modeler who's developing a particular product. Probably he's in Spain and the 3D printing happens in India, or it can happen in Sri Lanka. So wherever, so this is called localization or decentralization again, right? So that is also a possibility. So what happens here is there is a lot of overheads that cuts down in terms of factory space and so on. A lot of environmental carbon footprint is reduced, and assembly as well. There's a good point about assembly, which I'll speak later, but this is generally the ecosystem that we can think of. Yeah, so these are all the different pros of using additive manufacturing. The first one is mass production. I know you will be surprised to think that I'm talking about mass production in 3D printing, but this is a possibility. I'll give you two examples. One is something that's happening in New York. Another live example is what is happening during COVID situation. We've been able to mass produce quite a bit of face shields, quite a bit of masks in the last 20 days. So I'll also now get you through that. Another one is mass customization, complex manufacturing, decentralized manufacturing. I'll speak about each of this and how it implies on 3D printing as well. Okay. So this is the example of mass production. There's a company called Voodoo Manufacturing Company, which is right in the city of New York. This is a space where they have almost 200 printers. They've actually multiplied it quite a bit. They have more than 200, 300 printers. And what happens is the same product can be printed in all these machines, and they can print up to 1 to 10,000 units in a day. So depending on the size of the geometry as well. So there's we cannot deny that mass production is not possible, but also say, for example, sometimes injection molding can be really fast. It really depends on the particular object that we're talking about here. So there is a possibility of mass production. But when it comes to 3D printing, mass customization is the key. There's a very interesting company. They started around 4 or 5 years back, which is called Normal Tech. This is a very simple solution. If most of you, if you look at your headsets, most of you will get a little bit annoyed telling, no, this doesn't fit, Apple is better, another company is better. But what Normal does is it allows you, on the right side, you will see a picture of a girl. So this is the app they developed. In the app, what they will do is they will ask you to take 5 or 10 pictures, starting from this part, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So once you take, it scans your ear, and it kind of gives you a solution that your ear shape is like this, and it will give you a perfect fit. This actually worked, and it's very, very efficient and a very productive headset that most people have found, and it has really good reviews also. It comes to around $40 to $50, which is also buyable. So this is mass customization. There are a lot of mass customization opportunities happening right now. Say, for example, there are a few jewelry companies which are also looking at mass customization. Say they will give a standard ring size, but then say, for example, you want another kind of diamond, then they will change. They will customize each print orders. So customization is the key right now. So 3D printing has a capacity to handle mass customization. Complex manufacturing. This is one example of complex manufacturing where this is a lead jewelry designer who creates complex patterns, but to create it also with a craftsman is getting really exhausting. So 3D, this is a proper 3D printed, it's not a casting, it's a proper 3D printed jewelry that is printed using an SLA technology. So this is one printer, and apart from it, for complex manufacturing, I can always say drill bits and other things are also very complex, particularly for the oil industry. So again, there is a need for complex manufacturing. Again, when it comes to rapid prototyping, I think this is the most used right now. You want to see a product, you can immediately prototype and develop. But say, for example, 4-5 years back, if you want to prototype, you have to wait for at least 1 week, minimum of 1 week to see your object. So what happens is in this way, R&D, your research and development slows down. So quick prototyping is a very added advantage in 3D printing. Now, this is one of the things that I really like about 3D printing, which is called on-demand manufacturing. Now, we have a sister company called High on Life, where we design certain, we have a lot of designers working with us, and they will design a particular product and we design for 3D printing. So when we put it online, say, for example, someone can buy this planter, what the buyer will do is they will put a booking online saying, yeah, I need 5 pieces of this. So upon the booking, upon confirmation, we'll start 3D printing the product. Now, this is a classic example for on-demand manufacturing. So supply versus demand is also met as per this one. So there will be very less wastage and so on. Now, the next one is unified manufacturing and assembly stages. Now, this is a great interest for most car companies, automobile companies as well. And Renault has been doing quite a bit of effort in, if they had a lot of broken engine parts, assembled engine parts, which they've combined together. I can't show the image here, but it's a very classic example of how they want to unitize all the parts, like this, for example. Now you'll notice that the first one is the before picture and the second one is the after picture. Now the after can be printed mostly with 3D printing because it is one unique member, and it has a lot of intricacy in terms of traditional manufacturing. So now what happens is every process here, the manufacturing process is simplified and the assembly is also simplified here into one part, where say there are 50 parts, it is optimized into one part, and the optimization can be 3D printed. The next one is decentralized manufacturing. I think most of you would have seen our police officials who are standing on the streets guarding us. You would have seen them wearing a face shield. So what happened, there's a very interesting story, and there's a very live example close to my heart as well, because 20 days back, what happened was, since I'm a part of Women in 3D Printing community, I keep watching what's happening in Spain and other places. So one of my friends in Spain 3D printed this face shield and gave it to the nearby hospitals. Looking at her, what I did was I also started printing, but I noticed that I had only one printer in my house. So I contacted the rest of almost in Tamil Nadu, or we left out a mail telling, whoever is interested, please participate with us. And in the end of 2 days, we had 200 participants, 100 people in WhatsApp who had access to 200 3D printers. So we started 3D printing a lot of face shields, and we started giving to our local areas. Say I live in Adyar, so I gave it closer to closer to the hospitals in Adyar. And this particular shields that you see police wearing are actually developed by IIT Madras. They have a lot of 3D printers inside as well. So they've been also giving it to police people. Now, this is a live example of how we are fighting against face shields without even any factory opening. The first 2-3 days, it was super confused and we had no factory open that time. So this is a classic example. On the right side, I will mark it. So this is the band that most of them 3D printed. It took almost 20 minutes to half an hour for us to 3D print that band. And the OHP sheets were fixed in on top of it. We just used a punching hole to fix it. And there we had a solution for at least safeguarding a little bit for our warriors. So this is also called decentralized manufacturing. Now, Ramba, I also quoted decentralized manufacturing for the oil and gas industry where they work in a remote environment. So that is also a classic example of decentralized manufacturing. Now, everything, if you look at it, it's all local versus global. Now, this is a word that we commonly use when it comes to 3D printing, global. That is, anyone sitting from anywhere can also access it. And you have to start thinking globally, and hence we can act locally. So that's one thing. Yeah. I'm getting a lot of messages, but probably I'll read it at the end of the conversation. I have a little bit more to go. So when it comes to, I think what's very, very important is the reason why I showed all these industries was because in every single industry, you will need a 3D printer. For us, when we sit in our office in Adyar, we meet on Monday, if we meet a robotic engineer, on Tuesday, we meet a mechanical engineer, on Wednesday, we meet an automobile engineer. So because we're doing design for 3D printing or design for advanced manufacturing, we tend to meet a lot of people, and we cannot say that we work only with this field, right? Hence, it is very, very important for every one of us to kind of embrace this technology or adapt into this technology. It's nothing very difficult. It's a very simple process, which I'm going to tell you. All you need to understand is there are a few steps. You need an idea. That idea needs to be converted into a 3D model. A model, this part is very, very important. Anybody can do a 3D model, but it requires a little bit more expertise to create for 3D printing. It has to be a perfect 3D model. And then the next step is, say, for example, if you're printing for cars, you might need to use ABS technology or composites technology, or you need composite 3D printing, or you need carbon 3D printing, or you will need, each of it will require each technology. For jewelry, we will need resin technology, right? So for prototyping, you'll need a normal FDM desktop printer. So you'll need to identify what is the right technology for your business. And the next one is you'll need a 3D printing software for the particular technology and for the 3D printer. This is something we called as a slicer. So once that is done, the slicer will tell you, okay, your model is really good. You can start 3D printing. And once the 3D printing is done, depending on the product, depending on the technology that we use, we can do a post-production. Now, this is the cycle of 3D printing, or how you use 3D printing into your technology as well. You just need to do a lot of reading on what is the best technology for your business as well. And there are quite a lot of different kinds of products, machines that are available. There is SLA, there is DLP, there are double UL extrusion printers, there are multicolor printers by HP. Every day is a new innovation in 3D printing industry, right? If you miss one day, you'll be like, oh, wow, they printed a car yesterday. Then in the next day, they will say, oh, they printed a space rover. So you just have to keep yourself updating yourself as well in this industry when you're here. I think is with Industry Revolution 4.0 coming up, I speak about an Industry Revolution 4.0. It was actually a term that was coined first time in Germany by Angela Merkel, the ex-minister that was there. But who reframed these things together was World Economic Forum. So that is also a good forum for us to follow and to understand, particularly for business leaders who are there. They will already know that Industry 4.0 is coming up, and there will be a lot of emergence of new technologies, a lot of different processes, and completely different business models. This is a very, very important thing for us, because what you see now, in 5 years, that particular job opening will be completely different. So what I would like to end with is, this is one of my favorite lines. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent ones, but the ones that can adapt to change. That is probably what is very much required right now for our Industry Revolution 4.0 as well. And upskill and adapt to change is the key for our healthy living as well. Thank you. I'll probably take.
Anybody have any questions? Dr. Balam?
Sir, people can unlock themselves and rise up for the question.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. It's audible, sir. You can go ahead and ask them.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. Very nice presentation, and it is very informative. How this will be applicable for the sheet steel manufacturing industry, which is involves a lot of metals, manufacturing of components.
Okay, sir. But if we're talking, there are actually quite a bit of metal 3D printers.
Hello.
Hello, you can hear me? Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. You can talk. You can talk. You can talk. No.
Yes, sir. So there are quite a bit of metal 3D printers that are also available these days. But the only thing is, right now the cost factor is really huge. So it's not very commercially people have not commercially started using it. But I myself have noticed that HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, has already 10 machines of those that they're using. Probably right now the cost is a big thing. But if you have any complex patterning, then definitely this will come in handy. But if it's just a cutting, say sheet metals are just thin, and
Exactly.
particular laser cutting will be more than enough for that. So probably for that you will not require 3D printing as much, but when it comes to complex designs, you will definitely require one.
Okay. No, you are talking about that mass production, no? Mass custom as well as customization. So
Yes.
in that context only I'm asking.
In terms of mass customization, sir,
Customization based on individual customers' requirement. No, the pattern gets changed. The design pattern gets changed. So in that, we are anyhow using the turret punching machine, bending machine, all those these things are there. So if we need to have a prototype before developing that model, no. So whether is it possible to have, you were talking about prototype. So the whatever the before manufacturing, we can see it within 1 hour, or what is the design?
Yes, sir.
Verification. So in that context, is it applicable to metal industry also?
Yes, sir, very much, very much. We've been working with quite a few people on those lines as well, sir. The whole idea is when it comes to a single piece of prototype, it's much easier and much efficient on 3D printing it. Sometimes they also either try to scale the product and print it and see, or they also go in for live. If you look at a quick prototype machine right now in Chennai, the biggest is 1 meter by 1 meter prototyping machine that we have in Ambattur.
Oh, okay. What would be the approximate cost?
So it really depends on the design complexity. So once again, I can show you a part. Pick them up. I'll show you a part. I can tell you how much time that took. This is actually
In 3D printing. So if you look at it, this is the size. I'm showing it on my face so you understand. So this takes around 4 hours to 3D print. So most people work from 180 rupees to 200 rupees per hour to 3D print it. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is an example for a 4 hours 3D print.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Madam, good evening. This is Raj Kumar.
Hello, sir.
Ma'am, just now I have entered. I have not seen your PPTs. Anyway, I'm sorry. But I have a question. My question is, what is the difference between rapid prototyping and 3D printing?
Okay. Both are same, sir, actually. Rapid prototyping was a particular term that they coined when I told you, before in the presentation, I would have said 7 years back, certain machines were called rapid prototyping, but all of them are the same meaning. Rapid prototyping, 3D printing, additive manufacturing are all very similar words.
Okay. What type of the ranges or the metals? What metals you are fabricating in your company? Specifically, any material for that material only you are making a 3D printer?
Okay, so we print PLA, ABS. PLA is polylactic acid, which is mostly used for prototyping. ABS is for, you can also start using it for end user car parts. And we have nylon. Nylon is also a very strong material. TPU is another material that is for thermoplastics, which are soft materials that you find behind the mobile covers, right? So those are called TPU. We can 3D print that. We also have steel printing. We can get access of titanium printing. And yeah, steel and titanium can also be 3D printed. We also have some materials, different ones. This is actually a byproduct of copper. We have copper, there is cork material. There are really strong carbon fibers that are available. And we also have connect with another company that does composite 3D printing, that is FRP 3D printing as well. So most of the materials can be 3D printed as of now, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, you switch off your sharing the screen.
Ah, yes, sir. Oh, I can see.
Hi, ma'am. Is it Chenna?
Hello?
Yeah, it is audible.
Ah, yes, sir. I can hear you.
So myself, Chenna, I'm working in Bangalore, one of the mining industry. So I have a question that do you have the companies stand compared to the?
Sir, you're not very clear, sir.
Sorry.
The question was not clear.
So, my question is about the component stability towards the road and compared to the manufacturing component.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any practical test results? Particular.
So could you type your question out, because it's not really audible.
Okay, I'll take.
Yeah, that would be great, sir.
Other questions, anybody?
Ma'am, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Ma'am, I'm Dr. Uday Kumar, a professor and head of the mechanical department, KLN College of Engineering, Madurai, ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Ma'am, I need only question. Is there any specific software for using that additive manufacturing?
Okay, sir. So there are two, in the process of 3D printing, there are two times you'll encounter a 3D modeling software.
Okay.
The first time will be for developing your idea, which can be done using standard AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Rhino. All these softwares can be used for it, sir. Once you develop the product, when it becomes a 3D printable format, which is mostly STL, then you'll need the second software. Now, the second software is the software that will be compatible with a 3D printer. Now, that really depends on the 3D printer that you will be having. But an open source 3D printing software is called Cura. This is the most famous one, and it's a very user-friendly one, CURA. So that's pretty good, sir. So these are the two softwares you will require for 3D printing, more than enough for us.
Hi, ma'am. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi, ma'am. This is Sundaresaran. Just I would like to know whether any material can be done, whether aluminum or anything can be processed through this one, through digital printing or something. Another thing is, what is the tolerance we can achieve? For example, in mechanical, what is the plus or minus tolerance we can achieve something?
Okay, sir. So first, with respect to aluminum, we can 3D print aluminum. So I'll need to check up on that, but yeah, I can check up and let you know, because EOS has a aluminum 3D printing machine as well. So that is one. Can you repeat the second question, sir?
What is the tolerance you can achieve? That is micron plus or minus 10 microns, 20 microns, 0.1 mm, like that something.
Yes, sir. So we have with the local FDM. Sorry, when I say local, I mean the desktop, which is easily accessible. It really depends on the 3D printer, sir. So say, for example, we use a machine called Ultimaker, which is a high precision prototyping machine that gives us around 0.02 to 0.404 mm of tolerance. But there are other machines in the industry which will reduce the precision level. So if I can tell you a simple technique, more the money, more the precision. That is, say if you buy a 30,000 machine, which is a flash forge, you will get a tolerance of even you'll have an issue of even 1 mm, 0.8 mm to 1 mm as well, because when it melts, it may not print really well. But the machine, say we have, which is called an Ultimaker, which is a very high precision one, which gives you up to 0.02 to 0.04. That will cost you around 3 lakhs. And you also have a 12 lakh machine, which will give you an accurate, almost accurate, but tolerance comes in all the machines as well.
Where do you put up your machine? Where's your factory is available?
So we have put up in Adyar, sir.
Okay. Okay. Only thing up to ABS material you can just. I joined very late only. I'm sorry. What are all the materials you can produce with your machines?
We can produce ABS, PLA, TPU, nylon. We can go in for steel. Aluminium should also be a possibility.
Okay.
Steel metal printing can also be done, sir.
It's like digital printing, also same thing. That's what you are telling. 3D digital printing, people are calling that. It's also same. Something
DLP, yes, sir. Yes, sir. This DLP is a much higher technology, much faster, and you will get much good colors as well in your 3D printing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question, ma'am. I'm calling from Pune. Yeah. I have a question that for high temperature materials like PEEK and Ultem, which particular 3D printer do you recommend, madam?
So how much, what is the melting temperature?
It's around 400 to 450 degrees temperature.
Okay. So for that, on a general note, most technologies, the most commonly available technology is FDM, which can print only up to 250 degrees Celsius, or around 300. But for 400 degrees Celsius, you might want to check with SLA technique. SLA technology is say sintering technology, basically.
Okay.
There are certain machines. Since you're in Pune, there is a company in Mumbai which can probably also help you. They hold a lot of SLA. Probably we can also share the contact via email as well.
Okay.
Yes.
And one more question I have is that for production engineering tooling, have you got any examples where some tooling printing has been done using 3D printing techniques?
That's a little, that's not my expertise, the tooling part, but if you want, I can probably check with my other colleagues and get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, there is a question that was asked by Chenna Basava some time back. So his question was, my question is about the 3D printed component strength when it is compared to the traditionally manufactured part. How efficient these 3D printed parts towards the loads we apply. Okay, so when you start printing a functional part, you might have to always optimize and check with, say, SolidWorks has the ability to check load calculations, right? So you might have to check the load calculation. You might have to see what your end user part in terms of grams should be. And most of the slicing software, the third software, the software that I was telling you, it will tell you how many grams that part is. So you might have to recalculate back and forth. It's a trial and error method. So that's, did I answer that question to you?
You have any questions?
Hello, I'm Kumar. Hello, audible?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
I'm Kumar.
Hello, sir.
In the beginning, you told you have one machine in your house, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the maximum weight you can make a component in the machine?
We don't speak in terms of weight, but
Weight,
in terms
total
of
weight.
volume, in terms of volume, we can print
That is
up to
volume.
20.
Volume is one factor.
Yes,
In
sir.
addition to that, depending upon the thickness, whatever may be, the weight of the component will be increased, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
there
sir.
may be some handling of this, that handling in the sense keeping the die and all that, right? Something like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Something is required. Okay.
Okay.
For that, that's why I am asking how much weight it can be possible. Another question: suppose if I gave you a component, you assume that, how much time you will take to make a component?
Which component, sir?
Any component. Suppose I give one component to you.
Okay. Okay.
To make in the 3D component, right? 3D printing.
Yes, sir.
Suppose you see I have given one tumbler.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make it in your 3D printing.
Okay, sir.
How much time you need it? Whether you are taking a copy technology. Suppose sometime we have a facility. If I put a tumbler, it will totally copying and take the coordinate, whatever it may be, it will take it in the software.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, you take the measurement of this component, then you have to make it to 3D modeling, and then it will be converted to suitable for your 3D printing, right?
Yes, sir. So
from your point of view, from your equipment, whatever your technology, suppose if I give any component, a small component, you say a tumbler, the diameter may be around 60 mm maximum dia and height may be around 10 mm, 10 centimeter, 10 centimeter by 50 or 60 centimeter, the maximum dia, bottom will be 30 centimeter, right? This is a shape, cone shape.
Okay.
Suppose it's like that, some component, you just enter component, tell me, or n pin, whatever maybe use it, to tell me how much time you need it for this, making this component.
Yes, sir. So okay, I'm going to show you a tumbler. So this is as simple as how it goes, right? So
yes, that's why I'm asking the tumbler.
Yes, sir. This is a very simple geometry where it is a cylinder that is open on one side, which has a 1 mm thickness.
No, what I wonder, how much time for making a design and come, that's all.
Yes, sir. It will take the design for a simple tumbler. That is, I wouldn't call it a design, but reverse engineering of a tumbler will take around 2 hours to 3D model it, 1 to 2 hours, depending on the person who's 3D modeling. For me, I might take around 20 minutes to do it. Once the model is done, we will then take it to the 3D printer, and the 3D printer to print a tumbler will take around 3 hours.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
With respect to this, you are making a different material. You can make the tumbler in different material, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is, this may be a steel. You are telling that you can make it in the ABS or whatever it may be, right?
Yes, sir.
The material should be in the melted form, right?
Not necessarily, sir. There are different technologies. So if we are doing metal steel 3D printing, then it will be in a powder format.
Okay, you are taking the powder format, then it will be compressed or something like that, right? Some powder metallurgy, in the powder metallurgy technology, you can convert it into material, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The method that I'm talking about is sintering technology.
Sintering, okay. Yeah. Okay, I want to just answer the earlier question of asking the material strength, right?
Sir,
Yes,
Kumar sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, we can have private session, sir. So can you
okay, okay. Just
to
okay.
other people also?
Okay. That with respect to the strength, madam, whatever may be the technology, either it is a foundry or casting or whatever may be, normally the strength may not be much different. Only there may be a slight variation in the strength. That depending upon only the material, not anything else.
Yes, sir. True.
Properties of the material will be take care. The process will be affect only like any defect only the factor of the process. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
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 Yes, sir.
Sir, ma'am, I'm Obed from Chennai. We have a printer. We are using slicing software. We don't have the profile for that particular printer model. So is there any standard procedure to find out the profile for that particular printing model?
So by profile, what part of the printer are we talking, sir? Is it the nozzle or?
Actually, I have a Ender 3 printer, 3D printer. So I don't find the exact profile there in Cura. So it's not printing properly. So suppose, is there any procedure to adjust the parameters so that the
my suggestion will be to for you to try. Did you try Cura, sir? Cura Slicer software.
I tried Cura, ma'am.
Okay, so probably what we can do is, sir, my mail ID is there. I will put it out to you. You can
Okay.
send me that, and I can check whether there are profiles that are there.
Okay.
We have a colleague that uses a Ender, so I can probably guide you to him
Okay.
as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bala. Can you conclude that session?
If no questions are there from the people, so we can close the session, sir. So some of the questions are in chat session, so that probably can be mailed or answered by Madam through the other medias, social medias. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. It gave an exact view of what is 3D printing and how the COVID situation can be benefited out of 3D printing in manufacturing. And we have that too Chennai from India to manufacture this COVID kits. So thank you so much, ma'am. So it was a wonderful session. So the polling also has thrown light on certain areas that need to be improved in our IIT NSE. So the lecture series was 100% fully satisfied. That is the first question that has been answered. And audio and clarity, so that need to have some improvement. And everything was perfect. Thank you so much for your session, ma'am. Thank you so much. Can you share your email ID and the phone number so that the people can contact you?
Yes, sir. I'll send it. I'll resend it.
You can share your last slide.
Yeah, I'll share the last slide for a moment. And thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Ramdas, for giving the opportunity to such a wide set of people as well, sir. But if there's anything in the future that you want to know, so I've also shared my mail ID. Mobile number is also there in the chat. If there's anything, I'll be glad to answer your questions as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
People can actually subscribe to the YouTube channel so that they can watch the channel. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.